Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den in the co-captain's chair. As almost always, Mr. Chris Alo. What's happening, man? How are you today?
What's going on, Pete? How you doing? How's everybody out there?
Doing all right. Ready to talk some more horror. And I wish I had more time to watch horror lately. It seems like the last week has been kind of time is rare. But we're going to talk about a film series that we both have spent a lot of time with over the last couple of months. I know it's, a set like this takes a while to get through, and summertime, sometimes you can't watch as much movies as you'd like to because there's all sorts of stuff coming out and things happening and all that sort of thing. But today is all about Camp Blood. Again, like some glare. We both have our sets. There we go. So this is a very interesting horror series that started in 1999, created by David Sterling and Sterling Productions, or Sterling Entertainment, or Sterling Productions. That goes by, I think, both names. Right?
You got to show the top. This could be the greatest art in the history of box sets, right here.
Camp Blood, written in blood in some ample cleavage there. Yeah. This is a really cool set. So again, this is a series that started out in 1999. This is low budget horror filmmaking.
Honestly, Pete, I don't even know if I would say low budget.
No budget?
I would say micro budget.
Micro budget, okay.
Micro budget, shot on video. It's, if you've seen the Friday the 13th movies, you will, you can appreciate the Camp Blood. But even saying it's micro budget and shot on video, yeah, they're pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and we've got, how many films we got?
The set opens up to house the individual discs, and besides having the gorgeous artwork on the box, each one of these individual titles really has just amazing artwork on each I mixed them up, but on each individual discs. And I being a collector, I love that each disc has its own artwork. Each disc came shrink wrapped. Each disc has its own behind the scenes features, featurettes, running commentaries, trailers for other films from Sterling Entertainment. I mean, hell, the first Camp Blood is it this one? Yeah, it's in friggin' 3D.
Yeah, exactly.
The first couple in the series, and I didn't remember that they were shot, 1999, because they were shot so long ago. They look like they were probably filmed on VHS or a VHS-C or whatever. So the quality, even though it's on a Blu-ray, the quality on the first couple is a little rough. But I think the biggest compliment I can pay to the Camp Blood series, unlike most horror series, is that as they went along, they actually got better. They looked better. They sounded better. It was better special effects.
I would say by the fifth or sixth film,
that's what I was going to say.
To notice it. Yeah.
For me, where it really, I just had it. Like this trilogy right here, 6, 7, and 8. It's actually Camp Blood 666.
Yep.
7 and 8 to me, like these three discs, these three movies, make the set worth the price of admission alone. It's part 666 opens up with like a satanic cult in the woods, and of course there's a gruesome murder, all with practical special effects, and next thing we know, there's it quickly cuts to a photographer and a gorgeous woman in the woods in the cold, completely naked for like 5 minutes, all her lady parts flapping in the wind, and then spoiler alert, they get viciously murdered.
Of course.
I was like, okay, I'm sold right here. There's a lot of quirky, funny characters in 6, 7, and 8, including this crazy MILF who this older blonde woman who spoiler alert has one of the victims tied up and wants to have a particular song sung to one of her lady parts. I mean, it's just so wacky, but it works. You know, I liked how, and I believe it's this trilogy, how there's at one point there's more than one clown. There's oh, I'm sorry, because I don't know if we mentioned that.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, so this is
it's the whole it's Friday the 13th essentially, but with a killer clown.
Yes,
and it almost sort of seems like it's the whoever wears the clown mask becomes the killer in that movie, because it does bounce around. But like in one of these, I can't remember which one. It might be 7. You know, there's 2 clowns. You know, there's a clown that wears clown makeup, and then there's the clown in the clown mask. And so they throw different things at you. It seems like every one of these movies has a Scooby-Doo twist ending. And, you know, a couple times I was, you know, close to figuring it out. And a couple times I was like, whoa, I didn't see that one. I was like, it was The Night Watchman? And you meddling kids? I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, a lot of fun. You know, it's boobs and blood, and you know, you could always have more, David, if you're watching. But it had absolutely an ample amount to keep me entertained. And yeah, there's some discs in the set are kind of like some of the later ones are almost like a greatest hits of. Like
yeah, I mean that's
from here and some other movies.
Yeah. I think if my one kind of criticism of some of these films is that there's way too much of an overuse of stock footage from previous films in a few of them. Yes. Whereas, and you know, you and I talked about this offline the other day. It's like, you know, you've got all these films in this series. You know, probably would have been a tighter series if you take 3 or 4 of them out, because then what you got left is actually pretty good and entertaining. And I think it starts, you know, even though like the first film is like really, really like no budget at all, the first film is actually pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. You know, it's got some really attractive women, and just you know, the pacing is pretty good. And none of these are long. I don't think any of these even approach 90 minutes, right? They're all about 70.
They mostly seem in like the 70 to 80. I think there was one that was 90 minutes, but that could have been one of the greatest hits ones, which I think is like Camp Blood Kills or one of those. Yeah. My apologies, David, if you're watching. I you know, after watching all of these, it is a little confusing. But hey, I'm also confused on the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah, true.
Which you know, which one is which? Which is the one where the guy in the hockey mask kills the pretty girl?
But you know, not a lot of plot on a lot of these. I mean, the premise is these are not. This is kind of like, you know, take the logic part of your brain out and just sit and be entertaining. So you say entertained. So you've got this place called, you know, nicknamed Camp Blood,
right,
where there was obviously a murder that took place by a guy in a clown mask, and now this camp is like haunted. I guess not really haunted, because there is, every time anybody goes and walks onto the campgrounds, and that's the kind of part that can be a little frustrating at times, because people stumble upon this camp, which you never really see the actual camp until later in the series, which quite frankly is my favorite episode, because you kind of want to see that. It's like a lot of these films, you just have people aimlessly walking around the woods wondering if a clown is ever going to come out and kill them.
And then all of a sudden they're walking into you know, Camp Blood. And I love when the guy runs out, you know, and he's like, what are you kids doing? You shouldn't be out here. Like, what's the old man's, I can't remember the old man from Friday 1 and 2, but he's like that, you know, the old man warns him. What are you rascally kids doing out here?
You shouldn't be out here. It's the clown. He's going to come get you. And it's like, you know, and Yeah, but they are fun. There are some inventive kills, and it's interesting. You brought up earlier how as the films go on, you can tell that there's more budget here to do
Yes.
things with. And I found actually, some of the practical gore effects were well done, and there were a couple films where they injected some not so good CGI, and I'm like, you know
100%.
what? They should have never done that because I
Yep.
think the practical stuff was fine as it is.
Looks great. And that is, I think it's the CGI stuff is in the earlier ones.
Yeah, I think the third or fourth, I believe.
Yeah, and it does. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
No different than, listen, I love the George Romero zombie movies, but in his later zombie movies, he started to enhance the gore with CGI blood, and it just sticks out.
Yeah.
And your eye, you totally pick up that this is cartoon blood and not real blood. But yeah, in 6, 7, and 8, which were my particular favorites, it seemed like all practical. Had some really ample, beautiful women getting naked, some good kills, a lot of chasing through the woods.
A lot of chasing.
A lot of chases in that.
If you like a maniacal slasher dude with a clown mask, just walking and running after people in the woods and cutting them down, you get a lot of that. That's the premise of this series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I didn't, because I did watch them, I watched the first couple a while ago and then picked them up later. I sort of got lost in the middle with the storyline, but there definitely is some cohesion, just like the Friday movies with, some of the movies between one and the other, and they do weave plots and then storylines in.
And the camp at times doesn't look like it's the same place as the last movie, or the woods don't look the same. One movie it's like movies. Nebraska, the next movie it's California. I'm like, well, where is this Camp Blood really supposed to be? I don't know. Do they know?
100%. And I swear it was in one of the more recent ones where I was like, holy shit, the location looks like the location from Friday the 13th Part 3.
And it might very well have been.
And it could be. I mean, because that was shot in California. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the first one was definitely shot in New Jersey, and I can't remember about the second one.
Yeah, and one or two were in Nebraska, because they named a couple of towns, and I'm like, all right. And then all of a sudden, we're in California. It's like, but yeah, I mean, it can be a lot of fun. There are some really good moments on here, and like I said, maybe they made a lot of films, but I'm just trying to show some of the stuff on the back so people can get an idea of what they can expect.
Yeah, I mean, they've got really nice inlay cards. I mean, each Blu-ray has, again, that gorgeous artwork, printed on it. I mean, as far as the packaging goes, this is, pro-looking stuff.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yep.
I do remember the 3D being pretty good. I did watch it, on my 3D setup at home. And yeah, they were fun. I mean, the box set also came with a little tiny, like, Smurf size version of the Killer Clown.
So here's the thing. So I remember that I had that as well. And my 5-year-old grandson is like he likes horror stuff, and he's a big fan of Stephen King's It, right? The It film.
Okay.
And so he loves like the clown type of thing. So I was like, oh, I got this, because I was like, all right, this is kind of cool, but he's a kid, he'll probably love this. So I was like, oh, here's a little toy Pennywise for you. And then I found out later on when I was watching one of the Sterling videos or whatever, that clown is actually a flash drive. If you take the head off of the clown, there's a flash drive with additional content. I had no idea. I had no idea. Now, and the kids already destroyed the toy and everything like that, so I no longer have that. But you have.
That's awesome. I had no idea. I never, being the collector, I never opened it.
There you
go. That's awesome. That is super cool.
Pretty nifty idea, right? I mean, that's
super cool. I'm glad you knew that, because I didn't know. I swear I thought it was like a Smurf, but it was the Killer Clown. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So you know what? And again, I don't know how much the box set costs, but
Yeah.
we're going to leave the link to where you can order this directly from David and Sterling Productions below. But I believe it is now also available. You can get this set the way it is in the box with all the individual Blu-rays, just like we showed. But he's also just released, I think, all of these in one like kind of thicker single case set. Where you have like a
Okay.
whole
To
bunch
make
of the
it,
yeah,
I guess, more convenient, probably takes up less shelf space.
yeah, exactly. So, but he's got a ton of stuff that he's released. He's
Yes,
got the whole
he
Apes
does.
series, right?
David Sterling. He's got a whole Planet of the Apes inspired series, which I haven't seen yet. There's another slasher series called Axe Grinder.
Yeah.
Again, this is some gorgeous artwork, and an Axe Grinder. I watched it, and it's similar to Camp Blood. I'll be honest. It was, I don't really know if there's that much to differentiate between Camp Blood and Axe Grinder, because it's another guy in a mask in the woods.
Just not a clown mask.
Yeah, it's not a clown mask. It's
And he uses an axe as opposed to
yes,
machetes and all sorts of other
the
stuff.
different tools of destruction.
Yeah.
But again, it was entertaining. You could do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse than watching these. And yeah, of this entire set, I really liked Camp Blood 6, 7, and 8. Those there was a lot of chuckles. Some of them intentional, like with this MILF character, and some of them unintentional. Some of the dialogue is awful. Some of the acting is awful.
Yeah.
Some of it's not that bad. Some, a couple times I was like, who the fuck wrote this? But again, it's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I have never ever, and I'm still not a fan of micro budget shot on video horror films. One of my best friends, Glenn, did this in the 90s, and I wasn't a fan then, simply because the problem with all of these is, these producers and directors and writers, they do have a great vision. It's just really hard to get that vision on the screen with the limited amount of funds. And that's, no different here than Camp Blood. Had Sterling Entertainment had some more, as entertaining as it is and fun to watch, had they had some more money, it would have been even more so. But that's why 6, 7, and 8 to me, I really liked it, because it looked like it looked good. It sounded good. The effects were good. It seemed like, okay, they kind of hit their stride in this.
Yeah. That's why 7 is my favorite, because I think that you could tell there was more money that they had to work with. But what I liked about this one so much is that the film takes place at the old cabins on the campground. It's the only film in the entire series where they spend any time at the campground. Instead of just walking in the woods. And I thought that was great. And I wanted to see more of that. And I actually liked the characters in that film. I thought they were pretty cool, because with the exception of a couple of actors and actresses, you basically get different people in every single film. Like the first couple has the one female lead who carries over for the first couple films. And, I think, what was the one with the mother and the daughter? You had them in like 2 films. And,
I think that was 4 and 5.
I think so. Yeah.
Like the stripper mother and daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that was 4 and 5.
Yeah. So, pretty cool. And let's not forget, we're both veterans of Chiller Theater in New Jersey, the great horror sci-fi convention that, has run for many, many years. And I remember seeing these.
100%. I was going to say, I used to see these at Chiller Theater, and another one, and I vividly remember seeing these at a stand, and maybe David Sterling was there, in Cinema Wasteland in Ohio, with a big stand and all the different VHS and DVD copies of the Camp Bloods. But like I said, because I'm not a typical fan of these things, I I blew right by them. But now being able to, sit and watch them all, especially back to back, yeah, they definitely have their moments of fun
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I remember the time we sat watching Rich Catino's old the films that he worked on
Yes.
in the
Oh,
90s
this
in New
is
Jersey.
no offense, Rich. This is Camp Blood is light years ahead of the micro budget stuff that Rich Catino worked on.
Yeah.
Even though Rich's effects look great, those people, I don't even remember the names, like they didn't know how to put a light on in
No.
while filming, trying to film.
Unfortunately, in those, like you were like dying for more of Rich's effects because it's like they
totally.
would go half-hour stretches without anything going on.
Yeah, just characters talking in the dark in a warehouse.
Yeah,
and yeah, thankfully, the production of the Camp Blood movies is far ahead of that. There's some really great shots, some nice framing. It's never anything like that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. Camp Blood. Like I said, I would recommend this stuff if you just want hours and hours of fun, a lot of blood, naked women, and killer clowns.
Mindless fun. Yeah, yes. Just people, people getting stalked. It's the old stalk and slash.
That's all it is. Yep.
And I mean, this artwork is gorgeous. David, you should totally do some of this artwork on T-shirts if you aren't already.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
You totally should, because just make sure they're in 4X so I can I can get some, because the artwork on all this stuff is.
I would wear one. I would absolutely wear
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, they look similar to like the art that's done for like the T-shirts for Fright Rags. I mean, it's awesome.
Yep, exactly. And it reminds me of some of the Blu-ray boxes for some of the Full Moon stuff.
Absolutely,
not that much different.
No doubt.
So yeah. So we will have the link below where you can go check these out, order directly from David and his company. And I think if you just love low budget horror, really low budget horror and killer clowns and just lots of mindless mayhem,
right?
These will be up your alley.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a super hardcore Friday the 13th fan, and you can appreciate versions of movies similar to that, just shot on a lower budget, this is up your alley for sure.
Yeah. So before we let you go, Chris, you've been to a couple of fun like drive-in marathons and other things. You want to talk a little bit about some of the little mini film festivals you've been to?
Yeah, the two events that I went to recently. I went to the Phoenixville Theater the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I went to that, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that's the same theater that they shot the original Blob movie with Steve McQueen, which I think is that 1954 or 58?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
No, I think it's 58 maybe. But the famous theater where at the end of the movie you see the Blob squirting through the little projection screen holes. The theater is gorgeous. It's still up and running. It's like a 700 seater. And it was my first time in a movie theater since December of 2019. And I went 3 weeks ago for the Italian Splatterfest. And they ran 5 Italian horror movies, all from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They did a couple were off 35 millimeter film, and the other 3 were DCP digital presentations, but they looked amazing. They did Dr. Butcher, MD, Burial Ground, Killer Crocodile, the black and white Barbara Steele movie, I can't remember the name, and Killer Nun. I can't remember if it was Nightmare Castle.
Nightmare Castle.
Nightmare Castle.
Yeah.
So that was a blast. That was a lot of fun. It was great to see some of my favorite horror movies again on the screen. It was a decent sized turnout, and that was a lot of fun. And then I guess was it last weekend? I went to the now world famous Mahoning Drive-In in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. They did the Planet of the Exhumed Films did the Planet of the Apes marathon. It was all 5 original Planet of the Apes movies off original 35 millimeter films with vintage trailers and snack bar ads and everything in between. So they did the first 2 movies, Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes, on the first night, and the second night they did the rest of the series, which was Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, my personal favorite, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. And it was a blast. This was my 3rd time seeing the entire Apes series off film.
Wow.
But I'm a huge Apes fan.
Yeah.
So to see them again on the big screen, projected off film, was awesome. I mean, the Mahoning Drive-In is now, if I'm not mistaken, the only drive-in left in America that operates pretty much only off vintage 35 millimeter film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They don't get any new releases. They do have some video projectors for certain other things. They do on occasion. They need to run like an old movie digitally, which I have seen some stuff there, and it looks amazing. Their projection system's fantastic, but they won't get Shang-Chi or the new Avengers movie or Black Widow. They don't do anything like that. They are strictly a retro drive-in, and it is awesome.
So this is for fans of classic cinema, basically.
Yes, absolutely. And they do all different movies. I mean, I know they kick off their drive-in season every year with like the Wizard of Oz. I mean, I just saw the Planet of the Apes series, and the weekend after Planet of the Apes series was their Camp Blood series, not to be confused with the David Sterling Entertainment Camp Blood, but basically Camp Blood is their name for their weekend where they show 80s slasher movies. So they did some of the Friday the 13th, and this year I didn't go, but they might. I think was it The Burning? You know, they did some other 80s teen. I think they did. Was it Slumber Party Massacre or Sleepaway Camp or those sort of things? But it's a blast if you're able to get to the East Coast to go to either venue. Because
looked like a lot of fun. Michael Gingle posted all sorts of.
Oh yeah,
and I was looking at that. I'm like, oh, that looks like a lot.
You know, they had ape themed drinks at the snack bar, and they had, you know, people dressed in. One was in a chimpanzee outfit. One was in a gorilla outfit. It's a blast. So they definitely know how to do it right. So I know they've got a few more weeks. And they're doing their next big show, I think, is called the Weekend of Terror, which is like the 3rd weekend in September. And they're doing movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hills Have Eyes. I think they're doing Snuff. A couple others. Each movie is either a double or a triple feature. So over the weekend, you know, they're doing, you know, 9 or 10, you know, violent 70s and 80s horror movies, all off original vintage 35 millimeter film,
That's
which
pretty cool.
You can't see just anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's definitely worth checking out.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I have fond memories of the Planet of the Apes films. I mean, I grew up on those in the 70s, and I saw actually a couple of them in the theaters when they which was, you know,
that's
awesome. Because back then they kept re-releasing them like every couple years, which was great. Which they don't do anymore now. They just remake things, you know. It's like
I mean, and that's the unfortunate thing. You know, people forget, especially, you know, younger people, when, you know, you've grown up on, you know, watching these movies at home, is that, you know, these movies were not that they weren't made to be watched at home, but they weren't. These movies were made to be played on the big screen in the movie theater. You know, I read recently, I was on some forum somewhere, and I read it was some guy was saying that he had recently rewatched all the Friday the 13th movies, and he was bitching because in the early movies there was a video recap of the previous, you know, movie before it, the predecessor, and he didn't like that. And I'm like, but jackass, these weren't made for you to watch them in 2021 and stream it off your laptop.
One after another,
or whatever, one after another. These were made to be played in the movie theater, and not everybody who went to go see Friday the 13th 4 saw 1, 2, and 3 in the theater. So the filmmakers were giving you a little quick recap. Sorry if it bothers you.
Go out to the bathroom during the first couple minutes of the film.
Exactly. You're at home, so fast forward it. Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience, snowflake. That's the world. But that's people.
Yeah, that is, unfortunately.
But that's the great thing with going to see them in the theater. You're seeing them the way they were meant to be seen. Like it or not, up on the big screen, warts and all, having to see everything. I myself love the old snack bar ads. I love the vintage movie trailers. So to me, that's a little slice of heaven there.
Right up your alley.
Yeah, and it was nice to go to a movie again.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I saw Shang-Chi last week. That's the first time I've been in the theater.
Right. Well, I was going to say I had so much fun at the Apes marathon. I went back to the local drive-in. I did go to the Overlook drive-in here in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I saw Shang-Chi and Free Guy, the drive-in double feature.
Cool. It's fun, right?
Yeah, it was fun. It was, again, so much fun to be at a movie after almost 2 years of not doing it. It was great to be able to do it again. Like, wow, this is fun. Hopefully things will stay the same and hopefully not get worse, and we can continue.
We'll see, because we got something coming up in November that
Yeah, that's true. Back at the Colonial Theater. So
back at the Colonial Theater, we've got a 24-hour horror marathon.
24-hour horror movie marathon, which is sold out.
So it officially is sold out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's officially sold out.
Yeah, just everybody knows, this is a something that usually happens every year, or I don't know how many years they've been doing it. But it's 24 hours of straight horror films, and you don't know what the films are before the festival.
It's all a mystery.
As they come on. So basically, it's the whole weekend is a surprise. So
yeah, it's 24 hours nonstop, all movies off vintage 35 millimeter films. And they tend to stick with the 60s, 70s, and 80s, a little bit in the 90s, but in that sort of era. So yeah, Pete and I are going to watch, 13, 14 movies in a row.
Yeah. It's my first time. We'll see how many I get through.
Yeah, I think this is...
Thankfully, the hotel is right next door. So it's like,
I've done
off at 1 a.m. in the morning. It's like, all right, I'm going to go catch a couple hours sleep, and I'll be back in the morning.
I've done this, I think, 12 or 13 times now.
Wow.
And
Jesus,
it's not easy. It is, to just sit there, man, it's difficult. But it's fun. And that the
it wasn't expensive. It wasn't expensive. So it's so affordable. So even if, because I got the olds, right? Even if I could barely make half of them.
Totally.
That's okay, because these are films that you're not going to see anywhere else. Other than I may own a lot of them, but it's like to see them in a theater with a couple with 600, 700 other people who are totally into this sort of thing on 35 millimeter. You can't beat that, right?
Absolutely. So we'll have a blast for sure.
Yeah.
That's coming up. Knock on wood in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So. Cool. All right, there we have it, everybody. So Camp Blood, check these out. I think you'll enjoy them. Like I said, we're gonna put the links down below so you can investigate. Like I said, if you want to get the box set, this is pretty cool. Nice little
absolutely
keepsake for your collection. Put all these things back in here. They fit all nice and neat.
I was gonna say everything fit except the little clown.
I don't even remember how that came.
I think it was just in the box.
Just in the box? How did it fit in this box?
No, not in this.
Oh, box. In the big box. Okay,
in the mailer box.
Gotcha. That's right. Yeah. And I don't know how many films are in the Axe Grinder series now.
That I'm not sure of.
There were a few. It's not just this one. This is the first.
Right. This is the first one, and again, this definitely. I don't know if there's a year on here on the back. No, I think it. No, I think it's
2000. It says 2020
2020. That's must be when they did the
when they
Blu-ray.
did the Blu-ray. Yeah,
Because this definitely Axe Grinder 1 definitely had the look that it had been shot, earlier on. Let's say maybe I'm just guessing here, maybe in the early 2000s, because it didn't have the crispness or the sharpness of, like, let's say Camp Blood 6, 7, and 8.
right, right. Yeah. But yeah, definitely cool. Similar kind of concept, just no clown, right? But interesting stuff. Cool. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. So we'll be back next week with I think we got bad sequels next week, right? Is that what we're doing?
Is that what I know? I had started to make a list somewhere, but I lost it. But I gotta find it because there are some awful sequels out there.
Yeah, there are. So we'll be diving into that hopefully next week. So stay tuned for that, everybody. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. In addition to that, we got some other exciting news to talk about. So hopefully you folks have been watching this album homework assignment show that we've been doing. It's been a big hit every Sunday, right? Well, we've got this Sunday, we've got Bryce from Bryce Talks Metal going up against Sydney Taylor from the Hudson Valley Squares. And then the following Sunday, Mr. Alo and Louis Nasser are going head to head. They've already given each other their assignments, and I know what the two assignments are in this case. I normally don't like to know, but two very cool albums that neither one has heard before. I actually like both of them quite a bit, so I think this will be a lot of fun. So that's coming up a week from Sunday. So stay tuned for that and a lot more here on the channel. For Chris Alo, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody. Thanks for checking in with us here. I know it's a little late tonight, but thanks for watching the Monsters Den. We'll see you next week. Take care.